as golden as her golden hair, trailed behind her from tree to tree through the wood. She wore a light summer dress. She was hot from her walk and was wiping her face with her handkerchief. Her straw hat hung at her back from an elastic around her bare throat. Her husband was coming to meet her from the ravine. He had just climbed up from it with his gun, which he meant to clean because he had noticed that there was something wrong with it. Suddenly, into this peaceful setting Bacchus rolled up smartly with a loud clatter of cartwheels over the cobbles, bringing his surprise. The passengers got out, and Alexander Alexandrovich, hemming and hawing and taking off and putting on his hat, began to explain. Their hosts were struck dumb with amazement. Their genuine speechlessness lasted for several minutes. So did the sincere and appalled confusion of their miserable guests, who were burning with shame. The situation could not have been plainer, whatever might have been said, not only to those directly involved but also to Sashenka, Nyusha, and Bacchus. Their painful embarrassment seemed to communicate itself even to the mayor. The foal, the golden rays of the setting sun, and the gnats that swarmed around Elena Proklovna and settled on her face and neck. The silence was finally broken by Mikulitsin. "I don't understand. I don't understand a thing and I never will. What do you think this is? The South, where the whites are, and plenty of bread? Why did you pick on us? What on earth has brought you here, of all places? Has it occurred to you, I wonder, what a responsibility this is for Averkii Stepanovich? Don't interrupt, Lenochka. Yes, she's quite right. Did you stop to think what a burden you would be imposing on us? But heavens above! You misunderstand us. There is no question of intruding on you, of upsetting your peaceful existence. All we want is a very small thing, a corner in any old empty, tumble-down building and a strip of land that happens to be going to waste because nobody wants it, so that we can grow vegetables. And a cartload of firewood from the forest when there's no one to see us take it. Is this really asking so much? Is it such an imposition? True, but the world is a big place. What does this have to do with us? Why should we be chosen for this honor, rather than anyone else? Because we've heard of you and we hoped that you'd have heard of us, so that we would not be coming to complete strangers. Ah, so it's because of Kruger. Because you are related to him. But how can you even bring yourselves to admit such a thing at a time like this? I wonder, do you understand? Precisely because you're related to Kruger you should have spared us the pleasure of your acquaintance. Lenochka, don't meddle. My wife is absolutely right. Precisely because you're related. Yurii Andreyevich had no time to compare Samdevyatov's portrait with the original. During the awkward scene the doctor forgot Samdevyatov's description. Later, after things had calmed down, he was struck by the likeness and the aptness of the portrait. However, Anfim Efimovich's characterization of the manager was incomplete. Yurii Andreyevich supplemented it later. Averkii Stepanovich pronounced the sound L in the Polish manner, like a W. He actually never was separated from his pipe, which was an integral part of his face and which contributed to his style of speech, because he composed his words and ideas while relighting it and making it draw. He had regular features. He tossed his hair back and took great strides, planting his feet squarely on the ground. In summer he wore a Russian shirt tied with a silk tasseled cord. He was the kind of man who, in the old days, might have become a pirate on the Volga. In more recent times such people have created the type of the eternal student, the dreamer turned schoolmaster. Mikulitsin had devoted his youth to the movement for emancipation, to the revolution, and his only fear had been that he would not live to see it, or that when it came it would be too moderate, not bloody enough for him. Now it had come, surpassing his wildest dreams. But he, the born and faithful champion of the proletariat who had been among the first to set up a factory committee in the Zhivago Bogatyr, and to hand the place over to the workers, had been left high and dry. Instead of being in the thick of things, he was in a remote village from which the workers, some of whom were Mensheviks, had fled. And now what was this ridiculous nonsense on top of everything? These uninvited remnants of Kruger's family seemed to him fate's crowning joke, a deliberate trick, which was more than he could bear. This is beyond all reason. Do you realize the danger you will put me in? I suppose I must be mad. I don't understand. I don't understand a thing and never will. I wonder if you realize what a volcano we are sitting on even without you here? Just a moment, Lenochka. My wife is quite right. Things are bad enough without you. It's a dog's life, a madhouse. I am caught between two fires. Between those who make my life a misery because my son is a Red, a Bolshevik, the people's favorite, and those who want to know why I was elected to the Constituent Assembly. Nobody is pleased. I have no one to turn to. And now you. A nice thought, to have to face a firing squad on your account. Oh, come. Be sensible. What's the matter with you? A little later he relented. Well, there isn't any point in squabbling in the yard. We can go inside. Not, of course, that I can see any good coming of it, but the sea is in a glass darkly. Still, we aren't Janizaries, we aren't heathens, we won't drive you out into the forest to be eaten by bears. I think, Lenochka, we'd better put them in the palm room for the moment, next to the study. We'll see later where they can settle down, we might find them some place in the park. Do come inside. Bring their things in, Bacchus, give the guests a hand. Bacchus did as he was told, muttering, Mother of God, they've got no more stuff than pilgrims. Nothing but little bundles, not a single trunk. 10. The night was cold. They washed, and the women got the room ready for the night. Sashenka, who from long custom expected to have his childish utterances greeted with raptures and therefore prattled obligingly, was upset because for once he had no success, no one took any notice of him. He was disappointed that the black foal had not been brought into the house, and when he was told sharply to be quiet he burst into tears, afraid that he might be sent back to the baby shop where, he believed, his parents had bought him. His fear was genuine, and he wanted to share it with everyone around him, but his charming absurdities on this occasion failed to produce the usual effect. Ill at ease in a strange house, the grown-ups seemed to him to be in more than their usual hurry as they went about silently absorbed in their tasks. Sashenka was offended, and he sulked. He was made to eat and put to bed with difficulty. When at last he was asleep, Ustinia, the Mikulitsyn's maid, took Nyusha to her room to give her supper and initiated her into the secrets of the household. Antonina Alexandrovna and the men were invited to tea with the Mikulitsyns. Alexander Alexandrovich and Yurii Andreyevich first went out on the veranda for a breath of air. "What a lot of stars," said Alexander Alexandrovich. It was very dark. Standing only a few steps apart, the two men could not see each other. Lamplight streamed from a window behind them into the ravine. In its shaft shrubs, trees, and other vague shapes rose cloudily in the cold mist. But the two men were outside this light, which only thickened the darkness around them. "First thing tomorrow we must have a look at the annex is got in mind for us, and if it's any good we must start repairing it at once. Then, by the time we've got it fitted up, the ground will have thawed out and we can start digging the beds without losing any time. Didn't he say he'd let us have some seed potatoes? He certainly did. He promised us other seed as well. I heard him say so with my own ears. As for the place he offers us, we saw it as we were crossing the park. You know where it is? It's the annex behind the main house. You can hardly see it for thistles. It's wooden, though the house is of stone. I pointed it out to you. Do you remember? I thought it would be a good place for the seedbeds. It looked to me as if there might have been a flower garden once, at least it looked like that from a distance, but I may have been mistaken. The soil in the old flower beds must have been well manured. I imagine it might still be pretty good. I don't know, we'll have a look tomorrow. I should think it's rank with weeds and hard as stone by now. There must have been a kitchen garden somewhere for the house. Possibly we can use it. We'll find out tomorrow. Probably there's still frost in the mornings. There's sure to be a frost tonight. Anyway, what bliss to be here at last, that's something to be thankful for. It's a good place. I like it. They are nice people. He especially. She's a bit affected. There is something she doesn't like about herself. That's why she talks such a lot and why she makes herself sillier than she is. It's as if she were in a hurry to distract your attention from her looks, before you've had time to get a bad impression. And her forgetting to take off her hat and wearing it around her neck isn't absent-mindedness either, it really is becoming to her. Well, we'd better go back or they'll think we're rude. On their way to the dining room, where their hosts and Antonina Alexandrovna were having tea at the round table under the hanging lamp, they went through Mikulitsin's dark study. It had an enormous window the length of the wall, overlooking the ravine. Earlier, while it was still light, the doctor had noticed the view from it over the gully and the plain beyond, which they had crossed with Bacchus. At the window stood a draftsman's table which also took up the width of the wall. A gun lying lengthways on it and leaving plenty of room at either end further emphasized the great width of the table. Now, as they went through, Yurii Andreyevich once more thought with envy of the window with its vast view. The size and position of the table, and the spaciousness of the well-furnished room, and it was the first thing he spoke of to his hosts as he entered the dining room. "What a wonderful place you have! What a splendid study! It must be a perfect place to work in, a real inspiration. A glass or a cup? And do you like it strong or weak? Yurochka, do look at this. It's a stereoscope, a Verkii. Stepanovich's son made it when he was a child. He still hasn't grown up and settled down, even though he has captured district after district for the Soviets from Komuch." "What's Komuch?" "It's the army of the Siberian government. It's fighting to restore the Constituent Assembly. We've been hearing praise of your son all day long. You must be very proud of him. Those stereoscopic photographs are the Urals, they are his work too, and he took them with a homemade camera. Wonderful cookies. Are they made with saccharin?" "Good gracious, no. Where would we get saccharin in our wilderness? It's honest to God sugar. Didn't you see me put sugar in your tea?" "Of course it is. I was looking at the photographs. And it's real tea, isn't it?" "Certainly. It's jasmine tea. How on earth do you get it?" "We have a sort of magician. A friend of ours. He's a public figure of the new sort. Very left-wing. He's the official representative of the Provincial Economic Council. He takes our timber to town and gets us flour and butter through his friends. Pass me the sugar bowl, Siverka." That was what she called a Verkii. "And now, I wonder, can you tell me the year of Griboyedov's death?" He was born in 1795, I think. But just when he was killed, I don't remember. More tea? No. Thank you. Now here's something for you. Tell me the date of the Treaty of Nijmegen and which countries signed it. Don't torment them, darling. They've hardly recovered from their journey. And now this is what I'd like to know. How many kinds of lenses are there, and when are the images real, reversed, natural, or inverted? How do you come to know so much about physics? We had an excellent science teacher in yuriatin. He taught both in the boys' school and in ours. I can't tell you how good he was. He was a wonder. It was all so clear when he explained it to you. His name was Antipov. He was married to a teacher too. All the girls were mad about him, they all fell in love with him. He went off to the war as a volunteer and was killed. Some people say this scourge of ours, Commissar Strelnikov, is Antipov risen from the dead. But that's only a silly rumor, of course. It's most unlikely. Though, who can tell, anything is possible. Another cup?